Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for Wednesday evening Nectar of Devotion class today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yatkripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarini Paramanandamadhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. Once again, welcome everyone. So in the last class, we started discussing 64 limbs of devotional service. Okay, हिंदी में ये टॉपिक है भक्ति कैसे की जाती है. So how to perform devotional service? What are the 64 anga of bhakti? So in the last session, we discussed first 10 limbs of devotional service. So we'll do a quick recap. So you can unmute and quickly go one by one. So what is the first limb of bhakti?
Taking the shelter of bona fide spiritual master.
Okay, good. So taking shelter of a spiritual master. Number 2.
Initiation of Guru. Without initiation, human form of life is completely waste.
Yes, so taking Diksha, taking initiation from the bona fide spiritual master. Because we cannot progress in bhakti without taking Diksha. Even somebody born in the family of a Brahmana, until they take Diksha, initiation, they are not eligible to perform any homas. Number 3.
Obey the orders of the spiritual master.
Yes, being ready to obey the orders of the spiritual master and serve the spiritual master. Number 4.
Following in the footstep of previous acharya.
Okay, good. Following in the footstep of previous acharyas. Bhakti means following in the footstep of previous acharyas, not doing anything based on our own concoction or inventing our own methods, our own means. Number 5.
Inquiring for a spiritual master.
Inquiring from the spiritual master, how should I make progress in bhakti? Right? So inquiries should be related to how to progress in bhakti, not like how do I gain more money or how do I gain some good luck or those kind of things. So not inquiring such things, but inquiring about how I can make progress in spiritual life. Number 6.
Being ready to give up anything for the satisfaction of the Lord.
Yes, being ready to give up anything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Number 8.
Is seventh.
Yes.
Residing in
7. Residing in the holy places. And we discuss residing in holy places means we should try to make the environment of our place into a holy place, making our homes into temple, visiting our local temples here. So in that way, we will be able to fulfill that requirement of living in a holy place. Number 8.
Dealing with the material world only as much as necessary.
Okay, good. Dealing with the material world only as much as necessary, be it in your work environment, be it in the social circle, in not getting too much entangled with others' emotions, just dealing with them as much as needed, minimum basis. Number 9,
Fasting on Ekadashi.
observing Ekadashi Vrata, because Ekadashi Vrata is the king of all the Vratas. If somebody is observing all other fasts, such as Shivratri, Navaratri, and other Solan Somvar, Shukravar, and all that, that may give some pious credit. But if somebody is doing all those fasts and not observing Ekadashi, it's like negative marking. So Ekadashi fasting is the most important. Number 10,
Worshipping sacred trees like banyan tree.
okay, worshipping the sacred trees like the banyan trees. And then we also talked about like sacred trees. So banyan tree is one example. Then people, and most important is Tulsi, serving the Tulsi plant, Tulsi Maharani. Okay, so these were the 10 we discussed in detail in the last session. So we will move over to the next limbs of devotion service today. And let's see how much we can cover. We'll try to go maybe a little faster, not going into too much detail, but just try to understand what all these different activities are mentioned. कि भक्ति कैसे की जाती है. So the next set of instructions, again, next 10 items are again very important one. So the 11th item here, which we are starting today, one should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. One should not mix up with non-devotees or stay in their association. So what does that really mean when we say give up the company of non-devotees rigidly? How to practically apply this? And who is a non-devotee considered here, first of all?
Maybe atheists who don't believe on the supremacy of the Lord.
Okay, good.
And
That is
also
that is one category which is considered as non-devotee, that who are atheist, who does not accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. And second category, there is one more category which also put people into the category of atheist only. And you may be surprised to hear what is that second category.
Like who worship other demigods and disapprove Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead.
Right. So people who worship other Devi Devatas for materialistic gains, right, for material benefit, whose whole intention is to gain something materially, and for that purpose they worship different Devi Devatas, they are also considered in the category of non-devotees. Okay, why they are considered in the category of non-devotees? Because bhakta means bhakta of the Supreme Lord. If somebody is worshipping other Devi Devatas, they are not called bhakta, they are called upasak. Okay, so that is the difference between bhakta and upasak. Okay, the definition of bhakti itself is which is done for the satisfaction of the Lord, not for our own purpose, not for gaining something for ourselves. Upasana is when somebody worships somebody for some material gain in return, for some exchange. That is called upasana. So इसलिए the wording used is Devi ka upasak, okay, Shiva ka upasak, Ganesh ji ka upasak, like that. But bhakti is reserved for Krishna bhakti, Vishnu bhakti, Ram bhakti. So people who are envious of the Supreme Lord, does not accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, or who are worshipping the other Devi Devtas for materialistic gain, who are very materialistically oriented people, they are considered as non-devotees. So practicing bhakti means giving up the company of non-devotees. Why? Because if we mix up with those, it will affect our consciousness also. And the meaning of association means when you do not emotionally or do not get affected by their emotions, their sentiments. Now, I will ask you a practical question. How do we practice that? It is said that one should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. Now, in a family, there may be one person who is devotee, another person is not a devotee. He is still upasak of other Devi Devatas, or even completely atheistic. right? So should it mean that one should give up his relatives? Okay, my husband is not becoming a devotee, so I want to get divorced from my husband or from my wife. So how to practically apply this learning or this particular principle?
Associate only as much as needed.
Associate only as much as needed. So doing your duty in that relation, again, trying at your level best to bring them also into the process of bhakti, right? Sometimes like people are not able to, so immediate family is the extreme situation, right? It's not that somebody will give up their father or mother, or you are not becoming a devotee, so I reject you, I give up you. So it's not like that, but our endeavor should be to try to slowly and steadily bring them also in this process of bhakti. And how is that possible? With immediate family member, it will not be based on by preaching them, right? By keep telling them. It doesn't work like that. We have to show by our behavior, we have to show by our own practice. जैसे बोलते हैं प्रचार से आचरण अच्छा. So for the immediate family member, that's most applicable. You cannot bring your immediate family member by just preaching to them. Okay, they will come to the process by seeing you, by seeing your activities, and by seeing changes in you, and then they will be attracted towards that. But if we keep pushing them, then they may turn away from that process. Now, when it comes to our another close circle, social circle, friends and all, okay, because many times we are not able to give up the company of some so-called friends, thinking, oh, they are my friends, they are my friends from childhood, how can I just give up my friendship? uh, so that is where this principle applies, that one should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees, not keep thinking that, oh, I have such a relation for so many years now, how can I give up? Friendship means when somebody is willing to help you in your ultimate goal. That is your real friend, who helps you to bring you out of darkness towards light. That is friend. But if somebody is dragging you towards darkness, that's not really your friend. And sometimes we think, we are trying, okay, ek din mein usko badal dunga, and we keep trying, and that person does not want to change. That person is not ready to give up small things also, right, in following the principles of bhakti. But you keep thinking, oh, how can I give up that person? And that person invites you and tell you, please, I accept this food I have prepared for you. Can't you eat onion garlic one day for me to please me? You should ask, can't you chant 4 rounds for me to please me? If that person is not willing to listen to you and change or accept the way what you are trying to inspire him, then why you should get so much fixed up in that person or get attached to that person? So that's why Rupa Goswami tells this principle here, that one should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. Okay, because otherwise our progress will be choked. Our progress will be saturated. So next principle, the next point is, one should not instruct a person who is not desirous for accepting devotional service. Now, this relate to the previous one also. I already mentioned that when we want to speak to our social circle, be it your friends, neighbors, relatives, one should speak only to somebody who is desirous to listen. Okay? If somebody is so envious of the Supreme Lord and tells you, please do not talk to me about this, okay, better one just not keep pondering onto that person. Just don't keep wasting your time on that person. So you have heard the example, eggs and rocks, right? The chicken, if you paint a rock which is the shape of egg, you paint the rock into the uh, color of the egg and put it there, the hen can keep sitting on that rock which seems like an egg, but nothing is going to come out of that. But if the hen sits on the real egg, there is a potential that baby hen is going to come out of that. So we need to figure out who is really interested, who is desirous of listening about the Supreme Lord, who is willing to change and who is willing to accept this process. Otherwise, years and years and years, if you keep trying on somebody, no, I'm going to make that into a devotee, and you're wasting your time. Invest your time in somebody who is desirous of listening. And yes, even though the scriptures say that one should try to give the holy name, right? We try to distribute the holy name to anybody and everybody. Even in public places, we chant the holy name. So giving the holy name is okay, but do not speak the glories of the holy name in front of atheist person or somebody who is envious of the Lord. Why? Because when we speak the glories of the holy name, that person is going to become more critical about that, more envious about that. Oh, how can you say holy name is so powerful that one chanting of the holy name can remove all the sins from your life? How can the holy name, one holy name, can be so powerful? So people will become even more criticizing, more critical about that, and they will commit more offenses. That's why it says, do not preach to somebody who is not interested in listening. They will commit more offenses and it will turn them more away from the Supreme Lord. So, and try to understand if that person is really interested. Then the next point is, one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples. Now, what does this really mean? One should not be interested in building costly temples. In our movement, we see so many big temples are being built. A TOVP Mayapur temple, which is such a huge temple and so expensive. In so many other cities, such big temples are being built. So how do we understand this particular point, which Rupa Goswami is saying, that one should not be enthusiastic about building expensive, costly temples? So the point to understand is, sometimes people get into building this, what we call as Hindu temples, where there is a marketplace of all the different Devi Devatas. And these temples, it is just like as club, right? People just come, they have different societies, they make their organization, they make their different committees, and then the whole agenda is how to maintain that temple, how to raise funds to maintain that structure of that building of the temple. But the real temple is where Krishna Katha is being done. The knowledge about Krishna is being given to the people. Krishna Prasad is being distributed. So these two things should be happening. The knowledge about Krishna and Krishna Prasad. That is real temple. So if there is, people are building some big temple, some Sanatani Mandir, but there is, these activities are not happening and the whole focus becomes to just maintain that building. That is what Rupa Goswami is pointing to, that one should not be interested in just building expensive temples for the sake of his reputation, building his name. अरे वो फला फला व्यक्ति ने इतना बड़ा मंदिर बनवा दिया. So not to get one's own name and fame, that one should be interested in building temple. The purpose of building the temple is to spread the glories of the Lord, to spread the teachings about the Supreme Lord, spread the teachings of our Vedic Shastras. That is the purpose of building the temple. Even Rupa Goswami, right? He also constructed temple. The other Goswamis of Vrindavan, they constructed temples, but they were not by themselves going and trying to spend all their time and energy to manage the funds for building the temple. They were doing their activities of writing scriptures, doing their sadhana. And if somebody came to them and offered them that, okay, we want to do some service for you, then they instructed that person. Like Rupa Goswami, he, Man Singh, and Akbar, they approached them that we want to do something as a service to you. And then Rupa Goswami instructed to make a big temple in the service of the Lord. So the whole focus should not become just to raise funds to build the temple and then to maintain the building. If for the preaching purpose building is needed, temple is needed, then yes, one will be enthusiastic to do that, but not just unnecessarily maintaining the building and for his own name and fame purpose. So that is why we need to understand this point very clearly when Rupa Goswami says one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples. Okay, now number 14th, the next limb of bhakti is Rupa Goswami says one should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on or professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So one should not read too many books. What is the meaning of this statement here? Even Srila Prabhupada writes as many places that my disciples, my followers should read the books of our previous acharyas, the Goswamis. But he gave the condition that when somebody is coming in this process of Krishna consciousness, they should focus on the basic literature first. Prabhupada said, first read my books, because you need to understand the basic principle first without getting confused. If you start going here and there, you may get confused about different philosophies being presented without getting the initial clarification, your initial basic concept being clear. So Prabhupada said, read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion. These should be enough for us to progress in bhakti. There is no need to read too many books. And when we say read too many books, also in current time, the another point also means is to not listen from here and there also, because there are so many sources, YouTube, Instagram, and all that. So much material is available. You search on one topic, you want to listen to something or to understand one particular thing, you search on that topic, and there will be thousands of posts on that one, and many of them may not be even authentic. Somebody has just spoken his own ideas, his own concoction. So one should not just listen anything and everything from here and there. So one should focus on reading the books given by Srila Prabhupada and try to listen to somebody from whom you are connected, so that you can gain systematic knowledge. Okay, not that, okay, I heard one lecture on Bhagavad Gita from one speaker on one topic, and then somebody from some other speaker on something else. One should follow systematically and try to systematically learn, systematically listen. And when we tell this point that, okay, don't go here and there and listen to different speakers and different things, people start getting doubt actually. Think, why this person is telling me, is discouraging me to listen to other people? Is he promoting himself? Is his agenda is to promote his own YouTube channel, his own, he want to get his own views and likes and all that? So people start getting those sort of concoctions, or he want to promote his channel to make money because there is earning on YouTube channel. You know how the earning on YouTube happen, how much views and how much of these likes and all has to happen to get some 100 rupees on YouTube. So it's not about that somebody is trying to promote his YouTube. Yes, there are people who do those kind of things also. Their whole purpose of creating content on YouTube is to make money, and they will make videos on anything and everything. Any new topic comes in the market, they want to make first video on that to get the maximum views and all that. So we are not talking about those sort of things here. What we are trying to do is create systematic teachings on our scriptures. So one should not get these doubts and these concoctions. Oh, this person is speaking to promote himself and discouraging me to listen to others. This is for the protection of the person, so he does not get diverted into various things and get confused. So that's why it's better to systematically learn by following one person in a systematic way, to listen, or to same way reading Srila Prabhupada's books systematically, not getting diverted into so many different sources. So that is the point here, which is written, that one should not try to read too many books or develop the idea of earning livelihood by lecturing, because there are so many professional Bhagavatam speaker, there are so many professional Ramkatha speaker who do this activity as a profession, okay, to earn their livelihood, and they make lakhs and lakhs of rupees. One katha is like lakhs of rupees, and big stage program, big pandals and all that. So the purpose should be that our goal is to spread the teachings of the scriptures, to connect people in this process of bhakti. Okay, and the next point, one should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings. So this is very important point. One should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings. So we should understand that as we are trying to become devotee, right? We are not a devotee yet, really speaking. We are trying to become devotees. ये अभी whatever bhakti we are doing, it's bhakti abhas only. So we are trying to become devotee, and as we are, whatever activities in bhakti we are doing, we are representing a mission, we are representing a movement, we are representative of ISKCON, let's say. So in our ordinary dealing, when we deal with other people, our dealing should be such that it does not give a negative impression about our organization which we represent. Otherwise, if we are behaving bad with other people in our other dealings, our dealings are filled with cheating, deceit, lies, and all those kind of things. What it reflects is, oh, this person, he thinks he is Krishna Bhakta, but are Krishna Bhakta like that? That they are trying to cheat to fulfill their own agenda. So one should be very careful in one's ordinary dealing also. And also it means is one should do his best in his other regular activity. If you are having your profession, your career activities, your job, your business, so you should do those activities also to the best of your ability with your full dedication and full productivity. Not that you become complacent in those activities. So for somebody who is having occupation, having a job, one should be very careful in doing his best in the job also. Somebody is having um, household, maintaining the household, maintaining the family, so they should be very careful in doing their responsibility in their family life also. Not that I have become a devotee, now I can spend all my time, just I want to spend all my time in listening, reading, chanting, doing this, that, and I will ignore my responsibilities. So one should be very careful in one's ordinary dealing also. One should not become too self-centered. That whole idea is about oneself only. Okay, so one should be very careful in dealing with other uh, responsibilities, other people. And the next point is very important. Actually, I was thinking about this. One should not be under the spell of lamentation in loss or jubilation in gain. Okay, so this is very important principle actually. One should not come under the spell of lamentation if there is some loss, or one should not be too jubilant in gain. So generally our situation is we are always either hankering or lamenting, right? Hankering about something to get something, or hankering about some future thing, lamentation about the past. So always this hankering and lamentation going on. So a devotee should not be subject to lamentation or illusion. In Padma Purana, it says, within the heart of a person who is overpowered by lamentation or anger, there is no possibility of Krishna being manifested. Okay, so it's a very powerful statement. If we are still going through these lamentation and hankering or uh, these kind of things, then we do not have the possibility of capturing Krishna in the heart, because Krishna thinks this person is too attached to the materialistic thing. थोड़ा नुकसान हो गया तो रोने बैठ गया, थोड़ा कुछ मिल गया तो उछलने लग गया. So he is still too much affected with the materialistic thing. So Krishna conceals himself. Krishna does not reveal himself. So that's why it says, सुख में फूले नहीं और दुख में झूले नहीं. Okay? तो ऐसा नहीं है कि थोड़ा सुख आया तो उछलने कूदने लगे, और थोड़ा दुख आया तो बस पूरा उदास होकर बैठ गए. सो सुख में झूले नहीं, सुख में फूले नहीं और दुख में झूले नहीं. So one should be free from this lamentation and hankering. And the next point is one should not disrespect the demigods. Okay, now this is very important point. Even though yes, we do not worship the Devi Devatas, but at the same time, one should be respectful. One should not disrespect the Devi Devatas. One should not think, oh, I have become a Krishna devotee. Who is this Shiva? Who is this Durga? Who is this Brahma? I don't care about any of this. हम तो कृष्ण भक्त हैं, बाकी सब भाड़ में जाए. So one should not disrespect the Devi Devatas. Okay, so if you happen to come to another kind of Hindu temple, okay, and you see the deities of other Devi Devatas, so one should show respect, because our philosophy is a devotee, a Vaishnava, even offer respect to an ant, even does not want to harm an ant. So if we can offer respect to an ant or to a neophyte person, some new person walks into the temple, you greet them by folding hands, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji. So we respect everybody. So we should not disrespect other Devi Devatas. What is the harm in offering respect to other Devi Devatas? Why not to pay obeisances to the Devi Devatas? Yes, we are devotees of Krishna, but at the same time, as a Vaishnava, we want to respect anybody and everybody. So one should not disrespect the Devi Devatas. One should not think that, oh, I have come to this person's home and this person invites you that please come take a darshan of my temple, and you will think, oh, इसके मंदिर में क्या होगा? He is a materialistic person. सब देवी देवता का फोटो लगा रखा होगा. And then if I go there, I have to pay obeisances to them. So one should not feel like that. One should not think like that. So one should offer respect to all Devi Devatas also. And the next one is one should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. Okay, one should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. So sometime in just playful mood, sometime they harm other living entities like the dog or cats or even cow, right? If the cow is जैसे बोलते हैं कि जैसे इंडिया में स्पेशली, राइट, इन इंडिया वी सी stray dogs, stray cows also roaming around on the streets, and people will just take a stick and just beat them or hit them. So one should not unnecessarily harm any living entity. The cow is passing by on the road, bull is passing by on the road. The cow or the bull has not done anything to harm you, and you just hit them with the stick. So that is not the right behavior. One should not harm any living entity unnecessarily. The sages, the saintly people, they perform sadhana living in the forest. Even now, even today in Vrindavan, there are so many saintly people who live in the forest. As Babajis, they are just living there, doing their sadhana. And they say that even sometimes snake passes by, and snake does not harm them. They do not harm any living entity. They do not harm the snake, and the snake does not harm them. See, these animals, these creatures also harm those when we try to harm them, right? When you get scared and you try to hit them, then they also get scared and they also kind of react in that terms. So one should not harm any living entity unnecessarily, unless you are being attacked by something and you have to do self-defense, you have to protect. In that case, in self-defense, it is okay. But unnecessarily, one should not try to harm other living entities. And sometimes we know there are situations in the homes that we develop, or somebody has infested by cockroaches or the mice. Okay, there is infestation by these creatures. Now we think, oh, I have to keep my home or protect my home from infestation, and then I have to get the treatment to avoid these roaches and mice or something. I have to kill them. So better is to, Prabhupada write actually in one purport, it's not their fault, actually it is your fault. Why you did not keep your house so clean that they will not even come to that place? They are attracted to the dirty things. If you keep your house so nice and clean and organized, they will not even come, right? The cockroaches and the mice, they come because they get attracted by the leftovers and all these dirty things. So it is our responsibility to keep the house clean so you don't get into that problem in first place. Now, yes, there may be some other situations when which is not in your control because of some old building, old material, because of the moisture, they these infestations come. So sometimes these situations are not in your control, and you have to do some sort of these treatment to drive them away from your home. But as far as possible, one should do their best to avoid these situations and do not harm any living entity. Okay, the next point, one should be carefully avoiding the various offenses. Now, these offenses are of various types. So one should be very carefully avoiding these offenses. There are offenses in deity worship. There are offenses in dealing with spiritual master. There are offenses towards the holy name. There are offenses towards dham, okay, holy places. So there are so many different type of offenses. So one should carefully avoid committing these offenses. And in the next chapter of Nectar of Devotion, now the whole chapter is about the offenses. What are the different offenses that which one should be very careful about to not commit those offenses? So Rupa Goswami writes a big list of offenses towards Archa Vigraha, okay, in the worship of the deities. So one should be very careful to not commit those sort of offenses. So there is a list of like 32 offenses towards Archa Vigraha. And we can go into all these details in reading all those offenses. I can go maybe briefly mentioning few of them, and you are welcome to just read that chapter 8 of Nectar of Devotion, the offenses to be avoided. So here there's a complete list of all the offenses, all the kind of activities which one should avoid when in the temple in front of the deities, or even the pujari who is going on the altar worshipping the Lord. So what kind of offenses one should avoid, and then offenses towards the spiritual master, and then there are 10 offenses towards the holy name which one should avoid. Vaishnava aparad. So there is nama aparad and Vaishnava aparad. So one should very carefully avoid these offenses. Now, purpose of avoiding offenses is because offenses choke up our progress in bhakti. So offenses are also like negative marking. We are doing so many things to progress in bhakti, and then we commit offense, which is like taking negative step. Okay, so we are moving 5 steps forward, and then we are taking 4 steps back because of our offenses. And if somebody is too offensive mentality and they are trying to do chanting, little bhakti, they are taking 5 steps forward but 10 steps negative because of their such a big offensive mentality, and that can completely spoil their bhakti. So there are two situations. One is somebody completely gives up the process of bhakti. Okay? He again gets back into his materialistic life. The root cause is because of offenses. Okay, the offenses are to such degree that it becomes as a negative account, and the person is blocked from progressing in bhakti. The second situation is person is continuing bhakti, but progress is very, very slow. The progress is very, very slow. Why? He's taking 5 steps forward, 4 steps back. So only net gain is 1 step, right? So the progress is very slow. So one should be very careful to avoid these offenses. And the list of these offenses, some of them which are mentioned here, the offenses towards the deity. So the first one, it says one should not enter the temple of the deity in a car or palanquin or with shoes on the feet. Okay, so that's why we have a culture of leaving the shoes outside before we enter into the temple hall where the deities are. Okay, and sometimes these basic things basically we are not aware of why this is done. If somebody asks you question, if you invite some Western person, somebody who is not familiar with this culture, and they see everybody leaving shoes and they are not accustomed to that, and they will ask you why the shoes are left outside, why you do not wear the shoes inside. What is the answer you give? Will you just simply say, oh, this is part of our culture? Just saying, oh, this is part of our culture is not the kind of a complete answer or the right answer. It is because as a respect to the Lord, that is the house of the Lord, and we do not want to make the house of the Lord dirty. And as a respect to the Lord, we are supposed to leave our shoes out, because we are wearing these shoes and we are going all sort of places. You are wearing those shoes and going to the restroom also, maybe, or outside you're walking on the street where something dirty gets stuck under the shoes. So we put our step at so many places which are dirty, contaminated, and same shoes we cannot take inside the temple to contaminate that environment. It's a pure environment. So one should not wear shoes inside the temple and or enter into the temple carried in a palanquin. So basically it applies to earlier, right, when it was the kingly time and the kings and queens or the prince and princesses, they are being carried in the palanquin, or some other big personalities also, some wealthy people, they will be carried in the palanquin. But when somebody comes to the temple, one should get down from the palanquin and then by on foot enter into the temple room. And the next offense towards Archa Vigraha is one should not fail to observe the various festivals for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So we have the temple, we have established the deities there, Pran Pratishtha of the deity is done. So we should observe the special festivals for the pleasure of the Lord. We have Janmashtami, we have Radha Ashtami, we have Gaur Purnima, we have Rath Yatra festival. So one should not fail to observe these festivals for the pleasure of the Lord. And when we enter the temple room, one should not avoid bowing down before the deity. One must bow down in front of the deity. Generally, these days, people just stand and they just fold hands, and that's it. So that's why Rupa Goswami says actually to not bow down in front of the deity is an offense. One should bow down in front of the deity. And bowing down in front of the deity, there are different ways. Okay, there is Panchanga Pranam, there is Shashtanga Pranam, there is Ashtanga Pranam, okay, which we called as a Dandavat Pranam. Now, what is the meaning of Dandavat Pranam? It is like laying down like a danda, like a rod on the floor. That is Dandavat Pranam. And it is equal to as a Ashtanga Pranam also. Okay, what is Ashtanga Pranam? Ashtanga. So 8 limbs of the body are touching the ground when we are paying obeisances to the Lord. What are these 8 limbs? Anybody knows?
At least 4 we know. Hand, feet, and head also, and the body sometimes Ashtanga.
I mean, body is there, yeah, but all the different limbs of the body are considered into Ashtanga Pranam.
Forehead.
Okay, forehead.
Yeah, and 2 hands.
Two
2 hands.
Hands.
Hands. 2
Hands.
hands. So actually, 2 hands count into one limb. Okay, 2 hand does not count as 2 limbs. 2 hand touching both hand count as 1 limb. So forehead, 2 hands is 1, so that becomes total 2.
And then knees.
Okay, both knees, right, touching both knees, so that again counts as 1, so total 3.
And
Legs.
Yeah, so you are basically your jangha, right, the waist, so both count into 1, so total 4.
How about body?
And then the feet, right? Your feet are touching. So 2 feet count into 1. So total 5.
Chest
Chest, 6.
and abdomen.
That will count as 1, the whole, this upper body part. So abdomen, chest touching onto the ground. So total 6.
Your nose.
No,
Ears?
no.
No. Ears don't touch. Eyes?
Eyes. So eyes count in that, eyes. And then the last one is your mind. Okay. So you are engaging your mind into while paying the obeisances. So that is total 8. That is called Ashtanga Pranam. Okay. And then we have Shashtang and Panchang, where basically you are not touching the upper body as your chest, abdomen that do not touch the ground. And your eyes are not touching the ground. So in that way, it becomes Shashtang Pranam. So there are different level of pranam which is offered to the Lord. So basically bowing down in front of the Lord. Okay. So one must bow down in front of the Lord as a respect to the Lord. And then the next one here, it says, so there are so many other things actually that one should enter the temple after washing hands and feet after eating. So when we have eaten, we throw the plate, then you must wash your hands. At least right now in Gurudwaras, we know there is a place where people pass through the water. They put their feet in the water, they clean their feet also. So there's a very nice, actually, Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, he also will give the example of Gurudwaras that they are so nice in this particular system that they have arrangement that the hand and feet must be washed before you enter into the kind of the temple room of the Gurudwara. Okay. And in our temples also, at least we should have arrangement where people can wash their hands before entering into the temple room. So that's why in all temples you see there is a kind of a tap or the place to wash hands or the restroom before the temple room, so people can leave their shoes, wash hands, and then enter into the temple room. Then one should not enter the temple in a contaminated state. So what does this means is contaminated state, what could be considered as a contaminated stage is specifically speaking about if there is a death in the family. So that time period, when we say sutak lagana, right, the family is the immediate family members, they are in a contaminated stage. The sutak laga hai. So that's a different time duration for different people. For Brahmanas, it's a 12 days. For Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, 15 days. For Shudra, 30 days. So in that period, people generally do not visit temple, okay, where the Lord is worshipped as his Archa Vigraha. But that period, people have concocted or twisted the meaning of this, that oh, we cannot offer lamp at home, we cannot chant, we cannot read shastras. Those things are not objected. Those, you are not supposed to give up those things. Arey प्रभु जी हमारी फैमिली में डेथ होगी, we cannot chant our rounds now because अभी सूतक लगा हुआ है. Those things should never be given up. Chanting should never be given up. Actually, that is helpful for you and helpful for the departed soul. Reading of the scriptures, hearing Krishna Katha, those cannot be stopped. Only limitation what is mentioned here is one should not visit the temple, enter the temple in that state. Okay. And then one should not bow down on one hand. Okay. Very specifically mentioned here, one should not bow down on one hand. When we pay obeisances, both hands should touch on the ground. Not that you are having one hand and one hand up, like doing a Superman pose. Okay, so एक हाथ ऐसे है, एक हाथ ऊपर ऐसे माला पकड़ के ऊपर पकड़ा हुआ है. Generally, we have a neck beads in the neck, the bead bag, and then you think, oh, bead bag will touch the ground. So with one hand, let me hold the bead bag up, and only one hand is touching the ground. That is to be avoided. Okay, one should either give the bead back to somebody to hold or put it on the back so that it doesn't touch the ground, and one should try to put both hands on the floor while paying obeisances. Now, the next one mentioned around, one should not circumambulate in front of the Lord. Okay, so circumambulation of the temple is mentioned, that one should circumambulate the temple if there is possibility. The temple is constructed in a way, there is a provision that one can go around the altar. One can go around the altar to do production of the deity, or otherwise do the whole production of the temple. But sometimes people have concocted another thing also. They are standing in front of the altar, in front of the deities, and while standing in front of the deity, they just go circling. Okay, so that is also an offense. As per what is written here, one should not circumambulate in front of the deity. Circumambulation should be done of the whole altar or of the whole temple. Okay, like in Vrindavan, if you visit, there are many temples where there is a parikrama marg for the temple. Like you go to Radha Damodar temple, there is a parikrama marg for the temple where people do circumambulation of the temple, and on that parikrama marg there are so many samadhis there for all the saintly people, the Goswamis. So that parikrama marg is there, that one can do parikrama 3 times, 4 times. You go to Radha Shyam Sundar temple in Vrindavan, there it is written that if somebody do circumambulation 4 times of the temple, this is like equal to doing Govardhan Parikrama. So circumambulation of the temple is important, is recommended in the Shastras, but it should be done in the right way. One should not just go in circle in front of the deity itself thinking, oh, I have done circumambulation. That is actually an offense. And next one is, one should not spread his legs before the deity. Okay, one should sit with folded legs, or if you have to stretch your legs, make sure your foot are not pointing towards the deities. On this point also, somebody may argue, right? अरे भगवान तो सब जगह है, जिधर मर्जी पैर करो तो वहां पर क्या भगवान नहीं है? Is Lord not there? Because Lord is present everywhere. Now that is impersonal philosophy, that yes, God is present everywhere in his Paramatma aspect, in his Brahman aspect. But when Lord is personally standing there in his Archa Vigraha, we worship the personal form of the Lord. One should not point the foot towards the Lord. So that is an offense. And while sitting in front of the Lord, one should not hold one's feet, one's ankle. Basically, one should not touch one's feet, ankles, kind of things, because those are generally maybe in a contaminated stage, dirty stage. So one should not hold one's feet or ankles while sitting in front of the Lord, in front of the Archa Vigraha. And one should not lie down in front of the deity. One should not accept prasad before the deity. So basically, we should not eat in front of the deity in the temple room. If we get prasad, we should eat. Let's say we are cutting cake, say, in the temple hall, and you are given the cake, and temple is open, curtain is open, and you take the cake and you start eating there. So that is an offense. If curtain is closed, then somebody has given you prasad, yeah, okay, you can take that. But otherwise, one should eat outside, not in front of the Lord when the temple is open, when the curtain is open. So one should not eat in front of the Lord. And one should not shout or speak loudly in front of the Lord. One should not glorify but any other person in front of the Lord. Glorifying the spiritual master is okay, but one should not glorify any kind of mundane people in front of the Lord in the temple. One should not cry or howl before the deity, and one should not fight before the deity. One should not lie before the deity. One should not chastise anybody before the deity. Okay, and one another very important point is, one should not be charitable to beggars before the deity. Okay, you should not be charitable in front of the Lord in the temple, that, oh, I will give you 100 rupees or I will give you $100. Not in front of the Lord. Why? People are coming to the Lord to ask the Lord. Lord is the one who is standing there to give to everybody. Actually, we all are beggar in front of the Lord. And you are trying to prove yourself as charitable in front of the Lord. That is an offense. Okay, so not being charitable in front of the Lord. And then one should not speak harshly to anybody in front of the Lord. One should not fail to worship the deity according to one's means. So whatever is our capacity, based on that, one should worship the Lord. One should offer to the Lord. Now here the quotation is from Bhagavad Gita. It says, the Lord is satisfied by even a leaf, a fruit, or a flower. But it does not mean you simply offer only a leaf or a fruit or flower when you have the capacity to offer Chappan Bhog also. So one should offer to the Lord based on one's own means. Okay, it's not that we offer to the Lord only apple or banana and you are eating nice preparations. So one should offer to the Lord everything, whatever one can manage. And one should not eat anything that is not offered first to Krishna. So one should first offer to Krishna and then accept it as prasad. And we should offer to the Lord fresh fruits and flowers, okay, not the rotten ones. If something has gone bad or it's not in a fresh condition, one should not offer that to the Lord. And one should try to offer to the Lord foodstuff which is based on the season, the fresh items which are particular to that, according to that particular season. And then one should not sit with his back towards the deity. So there are two things. One, we said one should not sit with feet facing to the deity, and one should not also sit with back facing to the back towards the deity. Okay, so one should sit in a proper condition in front of the Lord in the temple hall. And then, so there are few offenses towards the spiritual master, which says one should not offer obeisances silently to the spiritual master. So when you are paying obeisances to the spiritual master, one should verbally speak out. Okay, the obeisances to the spiritual master, the Guru Pranam mantra, one should verbally speak out. And one should not fail to offer some praise in presence of the spiritual master. So one should, it's a duty of the disciple to glorify the spiritual master. One should not think, oh, why should I glorify? And if somebody tells that it is the duty of a disciple to glorify the spiritual master, one should not think that, oh, he want to hear his own glory, so that's why he's saying. It is the duty of a disciple to speak the glories of the spiritual master. Okay, and the spiritual master does not accept that glory for himself. Actually, he passes on that glory to his spiritual master and to Krishna. And one should not praise himself in front of the spiritual master. One should not try to glorify himself. Oh, I have done this activity, I have done that, I have done this wonderful thing, I'm so successful in this activity. One should not praise himself in front of the spiritual master. If the spiritual master asks about our activity, then we can humbly give our report that, okay, I am able to do this activity, that activity with your blessings, with the blessings of Krishna. I am able to do these activities. But one should not try to glorify himself in front of the spiritual master. And one should not deride other Devi Devatas in front of the Lord. As we said, discussed earlier, that one should not fail to offer respect to the demigods also, to other Devi Devatas. The same way, one should not deride other Devi Devatas in front of the deity, thinking, or you are trying to glorify Krishna. Krishna, you are so wonderful. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is this Shiva? Who is this Brahma? They are useless. You are the one who is giving them strength. So one should not deride the Devi Devatas in front of the Lord. Yes, we want to offer our love to Krishna, but at the same time, you don't want to criticize other Devi Devatas in front of the Lord. Okay, so like that, there are so many offenses listed which one should avoid in front of the Lord. And moving forward, there will be many more. I encourage everybody to read this chapter 8 of Nectar of Devotion, where all these different offenses are listed. And then there are offenses towards the holy name, the 10 offenses, which in the temples and every morning before chanting, these 10 offenses to the holy name are recited. So we'll cover those in the next session. Okay, so I will stop here. Thank you very much. Let's see if anybody has any question, any comment.
So Prabhuji, you are going up to chapter 8 of the Nectar. That's what you are going through right now.
Yes, so right now we are covering chapter 8. So we started with chapter 7, where we already had discussed first 10 limbs of bhakti. We continued further, and then we entered into chapter 8, where all the different offenses are listed. Okay. Okay.
What is the difference between Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of, there are two. Yeah, instruction.
Yeah, so Nectar of Instruction is a set of 11 verses, the instructions, okay, how to progress in bhakti, the very particular instruction to progress in bhakti, what to be done, what not to be done. And Nectar of Devotion is kind of essence of all the Puranas and the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which Rupa Goswami has presented us. What is bhakti, how to do bhakti, starting from sadhana bhakti, how to elevate oneself to the level of ragatmika bhakti. Okay, that is Nectar of Devotion as a guidebook how to do bhakti. Okay, Manoj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Prabhu, you said that you should not be with people who won't respect your devotion or like who are not on the same way. But there are few peoples who don't oppose you, but neither they convince with you. They remains neutral. They won't offer any bad words about you. They won't laugh at you, but they respect your feelings, but they themselves won't get into that. So what about those people? Should we remain in touch with those people? Like, how is it?
Right. So what I mentioned is one should avoid the company of those people who are envious towards the Supreme Lord, who will criticize the Supreme Lord, or somebody who is too much materially attached, some materialistic person attached to wealth and women. So those type of people to be avoided. Now you are talking about some people who are neutral. They respect what you do, but they themselves do not want to do. So we should deal with them only as much as required, right? We had discussed that in the last session. Deal with the material world and people only as much needed. We don't have to spend our too much time and energy thinking I am going to stay with them and slowly I'm trying to bring them to the process. If that person is not willing to change, if you have spent so many years trying to give them Krishna consciousness and they are not willing to budge, one should try to keep distance and only interact if necessary, basically as much as needed for sure. Okay, not unnecessarily spending time and going to parties with them and being with them thinking I will spend time with them so I can influence them. In that way, we are just wasting our own time. If somebody is willing to listen, is desirous to listen about Krishna, and desirous to practice, if that person is at least somewhat favorable, then yes, we should try our best to keep in touch with them, invite them to program on special occasions, call them, greet them. So we stay in touch with them, and we have a scope of slowly bringing them into the process.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
And Prabhuji, is that some of the offenses are to protect the people who have like some of us have not a strong faith, and we can be influenced by other people very quickly.
Right. So that is also one reason we had discussed this point also earlier. So thank you for bringing up that point. So yes, we discussed this earlier, that when our faith itself is not strong, we get influenced by their thoughts, right? If they put some question in front of us, if they argue with us, our faith gets shaken. When we discuss the three type of devotees, Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Kanishta Bhakta. So the Kanishta Bhakta category is when our faith is also not very strong and our knowledge about the scripture is also not very strong. So we may get influenced by their thought process, their arguments, and we may further lose our faith. So that is also the reason that we should try to avoid the association with these people who are not very interested.
The last question, Prabhuji, Vrindavan,
Yes, I saw your message, Prabhuji. I will.
Did you answer me something?
No, I will call you, or I will send you the message.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, because we may go there.
When are you planning to go?
February 3rd, we are trying to leave if everything goes right,
Okay, you are leaving in next week itself.
Yeah.
Okay, I will call you maybe tomorrow.
Okay. Appreciate it, or just send some information so we don't waste our time and go to the wrong places.
Yes, sure.
Look at that a couple of times. Have you been to Mayapur also?
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I can give you the contact in Mayapur. We will take care of everything nicely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Okay, Dandavat Pranam. Okay,
Thank you,
so if
Prabhuji.
no
Hare
other
Krishna.
questions, I think we'll end it here. Thank you everyone for joining. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat.